Have you ever wondered about the meaning of the separation of powers? How have governments progressed in implementation this concept? And do all governments consist of three branches, legislative, executive, and judicial? If these questions have crossed your mind, you are not alone. In this video, I aim to provide comprehensive answers and explanations about the separation of powers. Stay tuned. The concept of the separation of powers entails the division of various branches within a government. The widely recognized and prevalent form of this division involves three branches: legislative, executive, and judicial. However, before we delve into the specifics of this concept, it's important to explore its origins and trace its evolution into the present form. This concept, like many other things in the social sciences, can be traced back to the ancient Greece. Aristotle was one of the earliest thinkers to delve into the discussion of different branches of government. He identified three powers within the government: the authority to consult and make decisions regarding public interests, law enforcement, and the officials responsible for judicial matters. While this division was fundamental and lacked a detailed exploration of the interaction between the powers, it set the groundwork for further developments. To trace the evolution of the idea of the separation of powers, we fast forward over 1,000 years to the influential English philosopher John Locke. Locke too advocated for three powers within the government: the legislative, executive, and federative or coalition power. While the roles of legislative and executive powers were somewhat defined, Locke's notion of federative power pertained to matters concerning external affairs, such as declaring war and peace. It is worth noting two important aspects of Locke's theory. Firstly, the powers he discussed were not considered equal, as legislative power held certain supremacy. Secondly, Locke did not explicitly mention judicial power, which led to the belief that he considered adjudication and justice to be outside the realm of politics and therefore not part of government's powers. However, the most comprehensive theory on the separation of power can be attributed to Montesquieu, a French philosopher who lived during the same era as John Locke. Montesquieu laid the foundation for the contemporary form of the separation of powers by dividing the government into three branches: legislative, executive, and judicial. The central tenet of Montesquieu's theory was the emphasis on a complete separation of these three powers. According to Montesquieu, if these powers were consolidated and not completely independent from each other, liberty would not be achieved. The practical application of Montesquieu's idea came into existence in 1787 through the United States Constitution. Soon after, following the French Revolution, the separation of powers was incorporated into the French Constitution. These two examples became the cornerstone upon which the concept of the separation of powers influenced other constitutional laws. Over time, the separation of powers has become an indispensable component for safeguarding freedom in political systems. At the core of the separation of powers lies the idea of checks and balances. It proposes that power should not be centralized in one place to prevent a government or any branch from becoming absolute and exerting complete control. Additionally, these mechanisms need to be in place for these branches to hold each other accountable, establishing a delicate balance between them. The implementation of separation of powers varies across different countries operating at distinct levels. In certain countries, there is an absolute separation of powers where these three branches are completely independent of one another. This model is more commonly found in presidential systems. On the other hand, parliamentary and semi-presidential systems often exhibit a degree of intertwining between the executive and legislative powers. If you have questions regarding the specifics of presidential, parliamentary, and semi-presidential systems, I have previously covered this topic in a dedicated video which you can find through the provided link. However, it is crucial to note that nearly all countries prioritize the independence of the judiciary. This aspect is of such significance that one could argue the absence of judicial independence undermines the existence of a democratic government. Judicial independence serves two primary objectives. The foremost objective is to prevent interference by other branches of government in judicial affairs. Additionally, judicial independence entails that the judicial system and judges should remain free from party affiliations, factional interests, or political biases. To ensure this, individuals serving in the judiciary are prohibited from engaging in politics or pursuing political positions. Nevertheless, there exists an exceptional case in the United Kingdom. In the UK, not only do we observe intertwined legislative and executive powers, such as the Prime Minister and Ministers being Member of Parliament, but the judiciary also exhibits some level of intertwining with Parliament. For instance, prior to the Constitutional Reform Act 2005, the head of judiciary in England held the position of Lord Chancellor, who was also a member of the House of Lords. Although the situation has undergone some changes following the reforms, a complete separation similar to that observed in most other countries is still not witnessed. Another aspect to consider is the possibility of observing a form of separation within each branch of government. When it comes to the executive and judicial powers, the federal structure plays a significant role in fostering separation and diversity. If you have questions regarding what a federal structure entails, I have previously covered this topic in a dedicated video, and the link will be provided above. At the national level, we may witness a sense of separation and distinctiveness within the legislative branch or parliament. While most countries have a unicameral structure, a significant number of countries adopt a bicameral structure. In some of these countries, laws must be approved by both chambers, while in others, especially in parliamentary and semi-presidential systems, the chamber that forms the government holds a higher position and can impose its views on the other chamber. The bicameralism of countries can be attributed to two different factors. One factor is based on a class-based perspective, with Britain being a prominent example of this model. In Britain, members of the House of Lords, as the name suggests, traditionally come from the upper classes, belonging to high-ranking families with inherited titles. However, with changes in British laws, particularly during the 20th century, the hereditary aspect gradually diminished, allowing individuals from the elite of society to attain these positions based on individual merit. In contrast, the House of Commons, which represent the lower chamber, following an elective structure, allowing anyone to become a member. In addition to countries with bicameralism rooted in class factors, there are also federal countries with two chambers. A chamber represents the citizens of the nation, for example the House of Representatives in the United States and the Bundestag in Germany. Alongside these chambers, there are also chambers that represent the state in some manner, such as the US Senate or the Bundesrat in Germany. Newer democracies tend to adopt a unicameral system, while historical democracies often favor a bicameral system. Currently, approximately 60% of countries have a unicameral legislative body, while 40% have a bicameral one. It is worth noting that throughout history, and especially in recent decades, the number of countries transitioning from bicameral to unicameral systems has been higher than the reverse. Two main factors contribute to this trend. Firstly, the diminishing influence of class-based perspective, which was a significant driver for the emergence of bicameral systems, and secondly, the desire to reduce government expenses. As expected, the existence of parallel structures with their own offices and organizations significantly increases costs. Well, this video has provided an understanding of the separation of powers and its evolution from Aristotle to Montesquieu. We have recognized that the primary goal of the separation of powers is to establish a balance among different branches, preventing the accumulation of excessive power and safeguarding individual freedoms. While some countries achieve a complete separation of powers, others experiencing varying degrees of intermingling between the branches. Moreover, we have underscored the crucial role of judicial independence as a cornerstone of democracy. Ultimately, we have observed that within the framework of the separation of powers, different models such as unicameral or bicameral structure can be implemented to varying degrees of separation. Thank you for watching this video. If you found this content informative, please like it and subscribe to my channel. Feel free to leave any questions or suggestions for future topics in the comment section. Thank you for watching and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.